guys, it's Heather Morrison with Bold Beyond Belief. I am just popping on over to my Facebook page to make sure that we are live and broadcasting. Thank you so much for joining me today. Are we there? Are we there? And it says this video is live now, but I can't see myself talking, so we're just going to assume that all is good. Anyway, like I said, my name is Heather Morrison with Bold Beyond Belief, and I appreciate you being here today. If you are watching the replay, comment down below replay so I know. I wanted to talk about personal powers today. So a couple years ago, I got introduced to something called the E-Code, and it kind of changed how I run my life and my business. And it was just one more layer, another tool in my tool belt that I use to run my life and business. And one of the things that the E-Code taught me was my core values. And if you'd like access to that, let me put this, comment E-Code down below, and I will send that off to you completely free. And it's a really cool system to go through, super easy. And it taught me a lot about myself. One of my core values is personal power. And I will defend to the end to make sure that I held on to my personal power, which wasn't always the case. Because if you've listened to any of my previous lives, you realize that I am a recovering codependent personality type. And I made it my effort and my job and my business to take care of everyone else in the world but myself. So I don't know how many of you can relate to that. But because one of my personal beliefs, my core value is personal power, it is interesting how many times I see this, because my senses are so heightened, that how many times I see this out in the world and I think, oh, she's giving away her personal power. And this happens all the time in business and at home. So here's a great example. My son woke up one day kind of cranky, and I did something to annoy him. And he said, "You're making me so mad." And I said, "You know, I can't make you mad. You have the choice to be happy, mad, sad, glad, etc. Right? That's your choice. It doesn't matter what I do. What I do is what I do, and how you react is how you're going to feel." To really understand that concept, to take that concept in, it's easy to listen to, but it's a challenging thing to practice. When I was, right after I had my son, I was going through some postpartum depression, and I went and talked to a therapist. And she said, because I was so frustrated, why is he not eating? Why is he not sleeping? Because he wasn't hungry or tired. That was probably why he wasn't eating or sleeping, and he's a newborn. That's their job. That's what they do, right? And she said, if you can think of yourself as a little sphere, right, a little globe, and your son is a separate little globe, and sometimes those two globes overlap, but most of the time they need to be kept separate, meaning I only have control over me, and he only has control over him. So for me to try to control all of his emotions and what he does during the day and how he's feeling and what he's doing is an exercise in futility. You can't do that, right? The only one you can control is yourself and your own reactions and your own emotions. So one of the things, I get people that come and talk to me and they're frustrated or they're overwhelmed or they're not feeling really fulfilled because they feel like they're taking care of everybody else. But here's the thing, 9 times out of 10, people haven't asked them to take care of them. In the cases of children, it's expected that you're going to take care of them, right? But we're not doing enough to empower those kids or give them teachable moments so they can do that stuff on their own. So here's a great example. When your kid comes in and they want you to fix them a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? If you can do that and that's something you want to do and no problem, that's great, go for it, do it. But if you're really busy doing something else and they're old enough to take care of that by themselves, the conversation that we have with ourselves a lot is we run around the house talking to themselves. Oh, forget it. I'll just do this. I'll just pick up the laundry. I'll just make the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'll just take the trash out because it's easier for me to do it than it is for me to stop and explain to you how to do it so you can do it in the future, right? There's 2 downsides to that. First of all, you're giving away your personal power. Stop it. Stop doing that, right? You are running around and running yourself ragged because you are taking care of everybody else instead of letting them take care of themselves. And you're being a martyr. I know that might hurt, but you're being a little bit of a martyr. I got to take care of everything around here. No, you don't. Especially if you open up your mouth and request help from other people or simply state, I am no longer available to do this. right? So that might look like this. Hey, Mom, could you make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? You know what we can do? Let's go to the kitchen together. I'm going to show you how to make it, right? One of the side effects of constantly doing things, especially for children, is not only are you run ragged, but then we raise these children, we push them out the door at the age of 18, and we want them to go adult. And you haven't taught them how to adult up until that point, right? You've done everything for them. You're giving away your personal power. And again, there's a fine line. There's plenty of things that I love to do for my son and I love to do for my husband. And those are within my boundaries that I've created that I'm more than happy to do. But there's other things that, because I've established my boundaries and they're very firm, and I've also shared what those boundaries are with everyone else, those are things that I'm not going to do anymore. And here's the thing, you can't run around being a martyr and angry at people for stepping over the boundaries when you haven't told them what the boundaries are in the first place. And this is going to get crunchy when you do this with people. When you say, I know that that's something I've done for you in the past. And this extends to clients, this extends to business associates, this extends to spouses and kids and everyone that you come across with. You can tell people, I know that I've done that in the past. It's not something that I'm available for anymore. So let's work out how we can work on this moving forward. Whether that's an obligation that you want to back out of that you got roped into doing 2 years ago, whether that's a client that is eating so much of your time, right? I talk to people and they're like, well, my clients call me at 9 o'clock at night. Well, what are you doing answering the phone at 9 o'clock at night? So you haven't expressed your boundaries to them. You haven't told them I'm only available from 9 to 3, right? So you can't get mad at people when you haven't fully established those boundaries, and B, told the people what those boundaries are. So one of the things I've talked about in the past is E plus R equals O. This is courtesy of Jack Canfield, one of my heroes, and it's event plus reaction equals the outcome. You cannot control the circumstances in your life a lot of times, right? Life happens. For example, you can't control if there's someone sitting in front of you at the stoplight and the lights turn green and they won't go. You can't control that. But what you can control is your reaction. And that dictates your outcome. You can sit there and you can lay on the horn, right? Or you can sit there and take a moment and take a beat and think, well, they're probably just distracted with something and eventually they'll move. And probably 2 or 3 seconds later, they'll move on, right? And you've gone about your day peacefully. Or you could sit there and lay into the horn, and then you're going to go off to the office and you're going to tell the people at the office about that. And there was some idiot sitting at the stoplight. Right now, that outcome has dramatically changed based on your reaction to it. You can do the same thing with a spouse. You can do the same thing with a stranger, with a business associate. They're going to do what they're going to do. How you react to it is up to you. You have no control over what they're going to do. Again, that goes back to when I was talking to the therapist and she said, pretend you're in 2 little spheres. Sometimes they overlap, but most of the time they stay separate, and you have control over what goes on in your sphere and he has control over what goes on in his sphere. And the only thing you can control is your reaction to it. And you can simply say, I'm no longer available for that. So people are only willing, and I love this quote. I absolutely adore this quote. People can only take as much as you're willing to give. They can't, in certain circumstances, they physically can, but the people that are in your life that you want to be in your life can't take things from you physically, mentally, emotionally, unless you're willing to give them. And I know that's probably not something that some of you want to hear. You're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. So again, you can't go around being angry at people for walking over boundaries that you never told them existed in the first place, right? That's like if you had a house and some of it was private property, but you never put up signs and people are camped out in your front yard, but they don't know it's your front yard. You can't, you can walk out there and say, please, excuse me, get off my front yard, but they'll say, I didn't know it was your front. There's no markers here. I didn't know where the boundaries, right? And it's the same thing in your life. So I really encourage you this week to look at where you're giving away your personal power. And it's interesting how it manifests itself. Again, these are people that are feeling overwhelmed, super resentful. I have to do everything around here. Nobody's willing to help me. Have you asked? Or have you worked on a plan on how they can take it over for you moving forward? And it's going to take more than one attempt. So people are going to continually pushing back that line because up until this point, you've always done it for them. And now they're going to have to do it themselves. And that's going to get a little uncomfortable. So they're going to push back against those boundaries. But the more you can maintain those boundaries, the better. And you're also, especially for children, teaching them that it's okay to have boundaries as well. So I wanted to let you know that I have opened up, which is not something I've done before, opened up my coaching for 3 one-on-one coaching spots, and I'm super excited about that. So if any of this resonated with you, if you wanted to find out how to kind of get out of this cycle, please DM me and we can have a little chit chat. I hope this has served you well today. Again, establish that personal power, tap into it. The thing is, it's not like you don't have it. Everybody has it. You just got to tap into it. It's there. And I swear to you, I promise you, it will completely change your life. Be bold, establish your boundaries, take back your personal power, and have a great day. Bye for now.